Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. My name is Clair Farley. I'm the director of the Office of Trans Initiatives and senior advisor to Mayor Breed. And this is Toni Newman, the director of St. James Infirmary. Today, we are gathered on this historic day to open San Francisco's first trans home for trans and gender nonconforming adults in San Francisco. It is such an honor to work for a city that continues to celebrate, but also do the work to make sure that our community gets housed. Without housing, we will not be able to help our communities thrive. Every one of us need to come together to be a part of the solution, and St. James and Larkin Street are doing that today. Thank you. So, first, we have honored guests with us today, and so I'm going to turn it over to her. Mayor Breed has led this effort. She made a $2.3 million investment into Trans Home, which includes this opening today, which is going to be 13 folks housed, as well as 55 folks who will receive rental subsidies for folks who are low income. And she spearheaded this effort in partnership with the community, the TAC, and my office, and Toni. And we're so honored to have a mayor that continues to commit and really work to make sure that everyone in the city can thrive. So please welcome Mayor Breed.
Thank you. Thank you, and thank you everyone for joining us on this historic day. When I first became mayor in San Francisco and met with the folks in my office, many of the department heads, I made it clear that equity would be at the top of our agenda in everything that we do. We need to change the culture of San Francisco and not just talk about the problems that exist, but actually make the kinds of investments that will deliver real results. And it comes from my own experience of growing up in San Francisco in the African American community, living in poverty and waiting for something to be done. We know what the data says, but we don't always make the right investments that ensure the results that are going to change the lives of the people that we want to serve. And so when I met with the Trans Advisory Committee, and we talked about some of the challenges that continue to persist around opportunities for grants in the arts community, opportunities for housing, opportunities for programs and other services, the discriminatory practices that exist with job opportunities that they seek, the challenges with our homeless population, and learning that our people who are part of our trans community are 18 times more likely to experience homelessness than anyone else in the city. I knew that it was important to not only listen and hear what they had to say, but to invest resources in trying to make sure that we can change what those challenges are for the better. And so I'm so grateful to be standing here with Clair Farley, who is the director of the Office of Transgender Initiatives for San Francisco, because she has brought so many people together to come up with incredible solutions, and is the reason why we have invested in this past year's budget, thanks to the supervisor of this district and other, Supervisor Peskin, $2.3 million for this initiative of Trans Home SF. And this is one of the first most incredible projects that we are cutting the ribbon on today that will provide safe, affordable housing for people who are experiencing homelessness. And so it is so great to be here today. And I really want to thank Toni Newman, because Toni Newman, she's really a force. And she is committed to this work. She has really hit the ball rolling with staffing up and working with folks in the community and making it clear what was needed, which makes it easier to provide the funding right to the places where we know it's needed the most, rental subsidies, wraparound supportive services, and making sure that we have the right people in place to get the job done so that we can get people off the streets and get them into housing. So thank you so much to Toni and the work that you do, to the Mayor's Office of Housing and Community Development, to the TAJA Coalition, to Larkin Street Youth Services, and especially to the San Francisco Trans Advisory Committee, who I mentioned before, the work that they continue to do to make sure that we call attention to all the inequities in various city departments as it relates to funding and how it needs to change. Our investments need to change in order to have a real impact on making a difference in the lives of people who are a part of this amazing community and a true important part of San Francisco. So I want to thank you all for being here today. This is just really an incredible milestone, and I hope for days like this on an ongoing basis, because it will make the difference in what we know is one of the biggest challenges we face in San Francisco. Not just the fact that we sadly have so many people who are homeless in San Francisco, but we have to make sure that we provide more housing opportunities so that people have a safe, affordable place to call home. So thank you all so much for this incredible opportunity today, and I'm looking forward to seeing this place and seeing the folks who are moving in. Supervisor Peskin, you're going to have 13 more new voters coming this November, so really excited, really proud. Thank you all so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Mayor Breed. And last week, we joined Mayor Breed to kick off the first Youth Navigation Center. LGBT youth make up 50% of the homeless population, so thank you, Mayor, for your continued effort to support our young people, as well as reaching the 1,000 new shelter beds, which is such an accomplishment, and thank you so much for your leadership to make that goal happen. Also, I want to recognize our commissioners who are in the House today, as well as our department heads, Dr. Grant Colfax from DPH, as well as others, leadership at MOHCD for their support in really making sure that these programs get funded and that there's equity continue throughout the work. As well, I want to welcome this district supervisor, Aaron Peskin. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Claire. I think everything has been said, but not everybody has said it. In addition to our DPH director, Grant Colfax, I also want to acknowledge and thank the director of our Department of Building Inspection, Tom Huey. Thank you to Larkin Street. Thank you to St. James. Thank you to the Office of Transgender Initiatives. Thank you to MOHCD, the Mayor's Office of Housing and Community Development. I am here to give a District 3 welcome. And let me just say that we are delighted. We were delighted to appropriate the funds. I could not be more proud that this is the first facility, and it is located here in District 3, which has a very proud, long LGBTQ history from the Black Cat down the street to Polk Street on the other side. This is where it all began in San Francisco. And we are profoundly aware that homelessness is acutely an LGBTQ issue. And today, we are taking a large step in addressing it and solving it. Welcome to District 3. To the 13 individuals, I will register you to vote the second you move in.
Thank you so much, Supervisor. And I also want to thank Supervisor Mandelman and Supervisor Haney. They were not able to join us here today, but their teams are here and they worked so hard to help make sure this happens. So thank you so much, Tom and Honey, for your efforts. Also, I want to quickly, before I introduce Toni, just recognize the anonymous building owner of this property who's renting this space to us, and he and his partner are committed to making sure that Trans Home is a success and that we continue to work to make sure that our communities are housed in the city. And without having such a strong and supportive and inclusive manager of this building, we would not be here today. So let's please give him a hand and thank them for their support. So now it's my honor to introduce Toni Newman. She's the director of St. James Infirmary, and I like to say that I helped kind of create the idea, and now she's the mother of the project. So please welcome the mother of Trans Home, Toni Newman.
Welcome, everybody. I'm just so excited to be here today, and I want to thank all of the partners that we have here. Hugo from the Mayor's Office of Housing. We have Open House. We have Larkin, who've been very supportive. Ilsa at Larkin has been so supportive to me and St. James, and the Housing Navigator team of Akira Jackson, Matthew Payton, Jesse Santos, and Camden Carter have been working day and night to make this available for you. We're just excited that St. James can be the leader with Larkin. Larkin has been leading the youth TGNC for many years, and they've taught us how to do the adults. I want to thank my 4 board of directors for coming. I have 4 board of directors and 2 will be speaking. And now I want to introduce Akira Jackson, if she's here. She's a physically sponsored program of TAJA. She's been fighting for housing, but I don't think she's here. So Jesse Santos is going to come up and introduce our first resident moving in the house this week. Jesse and Jane, please come up right now.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. And this is a dream for us, for the transgender community. I'm going to introduce Jane Cordova. She's the first resident in our house, and she's a beautiful woman.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jane Cordova. I was born in Central Mexico, and I came here when I was 16 years old, grew up in LA, and eventually make my way to San Francisco, which I lived here for 10 years. And I went to New York and reside there for another 10 years. I'm very happy to be back in this city, where our community has the most resources, and I'm very happy to be here and to have a place finally to call home. Thank you.
I'd like to call up Joaquin and Shannon from my board. They are both going to say words for you from St. James Infirmary. Come on up.
Hi, thank you for coming. I'm Joaquin Remora. I am here on behalf of St. James Infirmary, where I proudly serve as a board member. As an advocate for harm reduction and trans visibility in the Greater Bay Area, I would like to extend a thank you to Mayor Breed, Clair Farley, TAJA's Coalition, Our Trans Home, and everyone else who helped make this project come together. Today, we can celebrate that Our Trans Home is an incredible step in the right direction for the city of San Francisco. This home will ensure that transgender people impacted by homelessness have an equitable opportunity to become successful in our society. Stable housing is fundamental to creating access to resources for survival. Our trans home will provide this foundation to create a support system for those who are living on the margins within our city. Excuse me. Members of our community are constantly faced with unjust incarceration, poverty, as well as physical, institutional, and emotional violence. Some encounter even more severe consequences. Our transgender sisters of color are experiencing hate crimes and murder on a daily basis, and this continues to go unnoticed. Society must understand these issues as systemic symptoms of discrimination based on race and gender presentation. We must continue with this momentum and inspire more programs geared towards the needs of our trans community. It is our collective responsibility and due diligence as allies and trans people to ensure these issues are confronted and changed. We need companies, foundations, and government entities to commit to advocating for transgender causes. Our trans home is an excellent model that will provide the opportunity to not only recover and survive, but also to thrive and empower community members to become leaders and role models. By providing services that protect our community members, we are shifting the narrative away from being defined by our margins and barriers towards being defined by our successes and positive impact on the world. The housing crisis in the Bay Area has become recognized nationally as an ongoing issue, and despite this, we are continuing to demonstrate that there are tangible ways to empower and support our communities with pride. I feel proud to know that San Francisco is a place of historical resistance and refuge for people of all walks of life, and that we continue that resistance by uplifting our marginalized communities. Thank you.
I'd like to take a second to acknowledge Akira Jackson, who is unable to be here today. I'd like to thank her leadership. Without her, we wouldn't be here today. St. James is honored to be a part of this project, connecting folks with the housing and services our community so desperately needs. We look forward to continuing to fight for the rights of our trans and sex worker communities. Thank you.
Well, thank you all so much. Now we're going to move the podium and cut the ribbon. Yeah.
All right, you guys, Tony?
Let's take a couple pictures first before we cut.
Make sure your thumb is not there when I put it down. All right.
1, 2, 3.